Welcome to Houston Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Shanna Register, and every week we bring you news and information you can use on your next real estate transaction. If you've got a question, give us a call, 281-882-8088, and we'll be happy to answer your real estate questions right here on the air every week between 6 and 7 p.m. If you want to tweet us your questions, use hashtag RREA over on Twitter, and we'll answer those questions on air as well. That phone number again to call in is 281-882-8088. Got a great show lined up for you today. Lots of things happening. First, we're going to start off with Rita Santamaria, the founder of Champion School of Real Estate, and then move on to Dr. Lori. You've heard of her, the Antiques Appraiser. She's going to be giving some great advice if you're thinking about moving. And then lastly, a couple of segments. We're going to be talking about the lease with the option to purchase. So if your financing's not quite in order, you can go ahead and move into that house you want and be able to purchase it over the next couple of years. So we'll be talking about that later in the show. I want to start with Rita Santamaria. Always glad to have you on the show. Wonderful guest to have. Lots of great information about real estate because you're so entrenched in the market because you train all the realtors.
Yes, indeed. All over the state.
So Rita Santamaria is the founder of Champion School of Real Estate, and there are, 7 locations now?
7 locations plus online.
And lots of people take classes, I know, on the weekends and in the evenings because they don't want to give up their career yet.
Exactly. Save their money.
To move into real estate. And then get licensed and then move into real estate full time. So lots of things happening. What are the realtors that you're training? What are they saying about the market? Do they understand what a crazy market this is?
They do, and they are so absolutely pleased, excited, and yet it's that market that also makes you a little stressed out because your buyers cannot delay in making their offer, and sometimes there are bidding wars. So if a seller has a house that maybe isn't selling, his agent needs to maybe sit down and go back over, is it the condition of the property? Maybe the location's not as great as another location because houses definitely are selling.
I think one of the things that, we always look at what's sold to price the house. I think one of the things sometimes agents forget to look at is what's the competition.
That's true.
The competition is so important.
Putting that homeowner in your car, driving them around to look at the competition often says a whole lot more than trying to describe that you need to have your house staged or you need to do a little painting, a little cleanup.
That's right.
And sometimes choosing your best friend who's an agent is not the right direction if they're not going to be honest with you and tell you need to do some work here before this house is ready.
That's right.
To be put on the market.
Absolutely, because if you've got a pet in that house, it smells. No matter what anybody tells you, it smells.
It does.
You got to fix it.
It does. And as much as you love those kids' pictures, the Scotch tape on the dining room wall with them hanging up is not a good staging direction.
That's right. So which market seems more robust right now?
Well,
because you're all over the state.
We are. Without question, it's the Houston market.
Yeah.
The 4 counties within our wonderful Houston region is very robust. And then as far as percent increase in sales, really, that would be the Austin market. But at the same time, it's not as huge as the Houston market. But goodness, whether it's Dallas, Plano, North Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Corpus, El Paso, Beaumont, they're all feeling this wonderful new economic growth in Texas. It's great.
It is great. It's exciting. It's an exciting market. Since I started real estate back, I got my license back in 2006, and this is the most unique market I've seen.
Exactly. It is, because it's the first really up market
and it's
cycle.
It's a hard market for people who are selling a home to buy another home. It's real hard because they've got to pick the home they're moving to in most cases, or they may not get what they want, and yet they need the funds from selling their house. So it can be tricky.
It can, and so many will say, oh, now is the time to sell my house. I will really get it sold quickly and get lots of money. And then you just mention the realistic, obvious, that being, but you have to buy. So you're in the same market as a buyer.
That's right.
So have your plan ready and in place, because as you said, you've got to have the house picked out that you're going to move into once you sell and close.
That's right. So there's always room for growth. There's always room for growth, and I see new subdivisions going in, new communities, new builders. There's always room to grow, and we see all these great new transit areas like the Grand Parkway coming in and the widening of 288, and it's really, we see the growth happening all around us, and it's so exciting because I know a few years ago I'd drive by and see places closing down, going out of business, and so it's just so exciting.
You have to know, people moving here from other states that have been in a depressed market see everything just in a robust mode, and they're like, I can't wait to get here. It's just a different attitude, different mentality. What I also have noticed is you're driving around Houston or any part of the major metroplex in Texas, now office buildings are being built right next to the freeways, where it would always be push it back, a few acres. But now the idea is at the end of the day, get those employees, out on the freeway as quickly as possible, maybe save 20, 30 minutes on your commute home. So now all over, if you are on the Katy Freeway and you look at BP and what's happening with ExxonMobil, all of these office buildings are very, very central to our major freeways, right on them, actually.
Yeah, that's true. So now at Champion School of Real Estate, you guys have y'all teach a lot of different things: appraisal, inspections, realtors. What are you seeing the big demand for right now?
Well, most definitely real estate agents are coming in. We lost a number of them over the last 4 years. And the loan officers, that particular career field almost dried up during our terrible
all the regulations.
Yes, and everything that happened. So now we have loan officers coming back. And yet the area that is really just jumping with new enrollments that never, ever did before are professional inspectors. We have our home inspectors that are very busy, very, very, very busy, and they're looking for others to help them. And every buyer, every smart buyer knows you need an inspection of your property. So if you look at how great the market is with sales and you have an inspector that's going to take hours, a few hours to go through that house, there is a need for inspectors. And that's what we're seeing.
General inspectors and pool inspectors and stucco.
And we offer all that at Champions. We even have commercial inspection courses, and definitely the CPO for pool inspectors, but mainly residential home inspectors.
Okay. And we all know that real estate, it just takes up so many hours. Realtors work all the time, around the clock. And it can be expensive to get started. You've got to know where you're going with your career and what you're going to do. What do you recommend for agents starting out with this commitment and having to manage their time and their resources?
Well, first of all, you just hit the key word, manage. But first of all, you need a business plan, and make sure in your business plan that you have realistically some expenses that will be ongoing expenses. Once you're in the school, we have a couple of classes that literally outline those expenses for you. But sitting down with an agent that you might know, or go visit a company, even come visit us at Champions, and we'll talk about what you need to put into your budget, and then sticking to it. Obviously, as you mentioned, those people that come nights and weekends, they're keeping their full-time job until they get their license, and now they can start in their new career. If you have a spouse that is working, that's obviously very helpful if you're jumping into real estate as an independent contractor.
Yeah.
But managing your time, managing your money, having a budget, all of that.
It's important.
It's really, really necessary.
Because your time, sure. When you're a realtor, you can work anywhere in Houston, so you better narrow it down to where you want to work or you'll be everywhere.
Anywhere in Texas.
That's right. All right, you're listening to Houston Real Estate Radio. If you missed any of today's show, catch us online at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com. And if you're thinking about going back to school to become an appraiser, an inspector, a realtor, you can always go to Champion School's website online, and that website is
www.champions with an S, Champions championschool.com.
Championschool.com. Get signed up for those classes. Next, we've got Dr. Lori coming on. She is the Antiques Appraiser. She's going to help you decide what you need to take a closer look at before you throw everything in the dump as you're moving out the door. All right, sellers, stay with us. We'll be right back here on Houston Real Estate Radio.